It is Extreme Results Radio. I'm David Ruben with Baron Baptiste. Baron, welcome back.
Good to be here, David, as always.
I want to make one point, and I'm going to go back to you, which is, if you could say, what is the number one problem that we all have as human beings? It is that we do not realize that when we react in the wrong way to any kind of pressure or problem or stress or challenge, in that moment we are becoming the effect of a cause. And then whatever we react to gets inside our head. And then we start to struggle with it. First it was on the outside. Now it's on the inside. And that's where most anxiety about life comes from.
Are you saying anxiety comes from being at the effect of things?
Yes,
you mean almost
exactly.
Like being a victim, feeling that you're powerless, like a leaf in the wind. And that's a pretty anxious place to be, full of anguish, anxiety. If you're believing other people and their stories all of the time, that's a pretty foolish place to live. And it actually leaves you always disappointed. And I know for myself, I had to get to a point where I stopped believing other people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you see, what my paradigm is, you neither believe nor disbelieve. You just watch.
Yeah.
You wait to see what's true.
Yeah. Well, if you're not believing, then you're just being. And in being, there's inherently a seeing, a witnessing. You know?
Because see, even as the scripture says, that so be it according to what you believe. So if you start to believe, then it becomes so for you.
It becomes reality.
It becomes your reality.
Yeah, and someone can tell you something about someone else, and suddenly, oh, that's a reality about that person, when usually it's all made up. There's no real fact in it. It's all just hearsay, and and if you're going around believing everything everybody says, it's ridiculous,
Well, and then the flip side of that is that you become a disbeliever, and then you mistrust everyone. And then sometimes there's things that you need to accept that other people have to say, but then you always walk around with a certain cynicism, and so you have walls up and you're blocking everybody because you don't want them influencing you. You think, people have influenced me in the wrong ways before, so now I'm not going to let anybody influence me. You've contracted.
You become cynical and resigned because essentially you don't know what to believe. But see, here the thing is Dave, a really important point I think is coming up here is that there's a deeper kind of knowing, and it has nothing to do with believing. It's a deeper knowing that has to do at the level of a person's integrity. When you hear truth, well, it's something in you. It just rings. It rings with something on a soulful level. Socrates said learning is remembering. And when you hear something at the level of your integrity, the deeper level of knowing, it's like that aha experience. Even the truth believed is a lie. Jesus spoke truth. You can believe that truth, but believing is not on the level of your being. It's very different to be something. I'm not interested in a belief in God. I want the experience.
Yes.
So I could read the words of Jesus and believe them like, oh yeah, I believe that. And then just go on and live my life the way I usually do.
Right.
It's very different to believe that truth is very different than the experience of truth at the level of my soul, like at the level of my spiritual integrity.
I totally understand what you're saying. And to add to that, anything can be believed. In other words, a person can believe something that is erroneous or untrue. It doesn't necessarily make it so. But to know something, the word know derived from the Latin, which means to be intimate with. So then what you were saying is you don't want a belief, you want the experience. And the experience only comes through a knowing which brings you to the source that shows you, that reveals whatever truth it is to you authentically. So that you know it from within yourself, so that it's not just based on a belief of something that you've been told or something that you've read or something so he said to you, is that you actually are inspired, which means God breathed.
Yeah.
So there's a new breath of life in you that comes only from within. It doesn't come outside. So that's that information, the formation from within, as opposed to being formed from an outside source, no matter what it may be. I know a lot of people are looking for a person in their life to give them the missing links. But the fact is that when we go to those people, they don't have them. Nobody has what it is that we have to look inside ourselves for. It's the greatest mystery of all human experiences, because we always think that there's a guru, or that there's a man or a woman or a person or a leader that has whatever it is that we need. But the fact is that we have to find that in ourselves. What you're looking for out there is really in you, and you just don't know where to look for it. What I'm suggesting, Baron, is that all of our lives, as we've responded to our environment, we've become the effect of that cause. So most people are cultural with their identity. There are outformed people. So if you grow up in China, you're expected to be a good Chinese. If you grow up in Africa, you're expected to be a good member of your tribe. If you grow up in the Soviet Union, you're expected to be a communist or whatever it may be. And if you grow up in any kind of a climate, you're expected to be a reflection of that climate. No parent thinks their child is going to be something other than the environment dictates it to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so for us to be an authentic person, we have to be self-realized. We have to discover that the truth about ourselves does not come from other people, although people can make observations. People can help us see things that we don't see about ourselves. But that must awaken a knowing of that truth. Like you say, the aha experience. Now I see it for myself. If you don't see it for yourself and you just believe it, then you're still a robot. Then you're just taking information and processing it like a machine, like a computer. And so it doesn't have the effect that it would otherwise have of awakening, thus liberating you to act on a new form of information. Baron, over this radio, the people that are listening, isn't it amazing that there's a wavelength, electrical wavelength, that allows these words to be processed through some equipment and come out the other end? And these words are words of enlightenment and awakening. And so just as the radio is putting out the signal of the words that you and I are speaking from the spiritual world, there is information that will come into us as a receiver and give us information in exactly the same way. It doesn't come from the outside, it comes from inside like a radio signal. And then reprograms us from within, so that we don't need any external reprogramming. We don't need a guru. We don't need a personal guide in this world, although many people do in the beginning to help them find the way. What we ultimately want to end up is with discovering the truth for ourselves from within ourselves. See, and those are the lessons we're supposed to live in life, or to learn in life, is that we cannot ever be authentic if we're going to continue to be the effect of an external cause. I'm David Ruben with Baron Baptiste. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
I have been here many times before.